Have you ever felt like there's a part of you that you're a little scared to face, something buried inside, holding you back in ways you might not fully understand? Most of us carry around pieces of ourselves we'd rather not deal with, the sides we ignore, the traits we push down. But what if facing those parts of ourselves instead of running from them is actually the key to finding real strength? Carl Jung, one of the most influential thinkers on human psychology, called this the shadow. He believed that the shadow holds all the parts of us we've hidden or rejected over the years. By looking into these parts, we can find a well of strength, courage, and understanding that makes us feel whole. This video is here to walk you through the concept of the shadow in a way that's simple and real. You'll see how recognizing and working with these hidden parts of yourself can lead you to a deeper, more grounded sense of who you are. Forget the complicated theories. This is about getting honest with yourself and finding the strength you didn't know was there. Carl Jung was a groundbreaking psychologist who looked deeply into what makes us who we are. He believed that to understand the mind, we can't just focus on what we're aware of. We also have to look at the parts we try to ignore or hide. Jung called this hidden part the shadow. The shadow is made up of all the qualities and emotions we've pushed down over the years, often without realizing it. Society, our families, and life experiences shape what we think is acceptable or unacceptable in ourselves. So, we tend to bury traits that don't fit in, like anger, insecurity, or even creativity if it wasn't valued. But pushing these parts down doesn't make them disappear. Instead, they quietly influence our actions, leading to moments where we feel stuck, frustrated, or even out of touch with who we really are. This is why Jung's concept of the shadow is so important. When we ignore these hidden parts, they still have power over us, often in ways we don't realize. They can shape how we treat others, the choices we make, and how we see ourselves. By acknowledging and understanding our shadow, we take back control. We can face parts of ourselves we didn't even know were holding us back, and in doing so, feel more complete and at peace with who we truly are. The personal shadow is all those traits and desires we've suppressed or pushed aside, usually starting from a young age. Often, we don't even realize it's happening. Growing up, we get signals about what's okay and what's not okay from parents, teachers, and friends. Maybe we learned that showing anger was bad, so we buried it deep down. Or perhaps being creative wasn't encouraged, so we shut that side of ourselves off. Over time, these traits don't just disappear, they become part of our shadow. This can lead to issues later, like struggling to set boundaries or feeling envious of people who freely express what we've hidden. Without realizing it, we've locked away parts of ourselves that could actually help us grow. Then there's the collective shadow, which goes beyond individual experiences. It's made up of the fears, biases, and pressures that affect whole groups or cultures. These are the unspoken rules and beliefs shared by society. For example, some cultures might label emotions as weak, especially in men, or place a high value on toughness and self-reliance. In these environments, people may suppress feelings like sadness or vulnerability to fit in. This can make it difficult for individuals to form close, genuine connections or feel comfortable expressing themselves fully. Another example is how society often glorifies certain types of success, like wealth and status, while downplaying or ignoring qualities like compassion and kindness. People may then ignore their more nurturing or empathetic traits, fearing they won't be valued. Both personal and collective shadows have a way of shaping our thoughts and actions in subtle but powerful ways. They can make us feel disconnected from others and even from ourselves. But when we start to recognize and understand these shadows, we gain the chance to reclaim the parts of ourselves we've lost along the way, allowing us to live more fully and genuinely in alignment with who we are. When we ignore our shadow, one of the most common effects is psychological projection. Projection is a defense mechanism where we unconsciously transfer our own unwanted traits onto others. It's a way for us to avoid dealing with the parts of ourselves we don't like or can't accept, but it often backfires, leading to unnecessary conflict and tension in our relationships. Imagine you get irritated with someone for being overly assertive. Maybe you think they're pushy or self-centered, and it just rubs you the wrong way. But if you look a little closer, That strong reaction might actually be telling you something about yourself. Perhaps deep down, you wish you could be more confident or assertive, but for whatever reason, you've suppressed that side. By projecting this desire onto someone else, you're letting it out, but in a way that causes friction rather than growth. Ignoring our shadow doesn't just create misunderstandings with others, it can also mess with our own self-image. When we deny or bury parts of ourselves, we often become defensive, pushing away anyone who reflects those hidden qualities back at us. This leads to strained relationships because instead of connecting with people honestly, we're reacting to them based on our own unresolved issues. Our judgment of others often has more to do with our inner struggles than with the other person's actual behavior. Over time, this lack of self-awareness can create a feeling of being stuck, disconnected, or even misunderstood. We may feel frustrated without fully knowing why. Relationships suffer because instead of seeing others as they are, we're seeing them through the lens of our hidden fears and desires. Recognizing and owning our shadow can help us break this cycle, allowing for more open understanding and genuine relationships with the people around us. Our emotional triggers can serve as valuable clues to the parts of ourselves we've buried or ignored. When we have a strong reaction to someone else's behavior, whether it's anger, frustration, or even envy, it's worth asking, what is this reaction really about? Often, these intense feelings point toward traits or desires within ourselves that we've suppressed. For instance, if someone's confidence makes you feel irritated or uncomfortable, it could be reflecting your own desire to feel more self-assured, a quality you might have downplayed or hidden. A helpful practice for uncovering your shadow is to start observing your recurring negative reactions. Each time you feel a strong emotional pull, like frustration, jealousy, or irritation, take a moment to reflect. Instead of focusing on what the other person did, ask yourself what this reaction might reveal about your own inner world. These repeated feelings often stem from qualities we've pushed down, like the need to be heard, appreciated, or accepted. When you notice these patterns, you get a glimpse into what's hidden in your shadow. Looking at patterns in behavior and thoughts can also shed light on these buried parts of ourselves. When you find yourself reacting in similar ways across different situations, it's a sign that there's something unresolved. Maybe you repeatedly feel slighted when someone else takes the spotlight, or you consistently judge others for behaviors you were taught to avoid. These patterns don't just happen by chance, they're tied to parts of yourself that need recognition and understanding. By paying attention to these triggers and patterns, you're giving yourself a chance to understand the parts of you that you may have overlooked. Instead of letting these reactions control you, you can use them to gain insight and gradually integrate these hidden traits into your life. This not only brings you closer to understanding yourself, but also opens up new ways to interact with others with more empathy and self-awareness. One of the most effective ways to start working with your shadow is through shadow journaling. This practice allows you to explore hidden emotions and thoughts in a safe, private space. By writing things down, you can look more closely at feelings you might otherwise brush aside. It doesn't have to be a huge time commitment. Even a few minutes each day can make a difference. Simple prompts can guide your reflection, like, what am I avoiding about myself, or what did I feel triggered by today? These questions encourage you to dig into the feelings and patterns that come up, helping you uncover the sides of yourself that usually stay in the background. Another helpful technique is visualization exercises. Try this. Take a few deep breaths and imagine yourself standing in front of a mirror. In that mirror, instead of just your reflection, you see your shadow self, the parts of you that you've avoided or felt ashamed of. Now, imagine stepping closer, letting that shadow self merge with you. Picture yourself absorbing the strength, courage, or other hidden qualities that were once pushed away. This exercise can help you feel more connected to the parts of yourself you've been ignoring, recognizing that these traits are there to support you, not hold you back. Lastly, there's a simple self-reflection practice you can use whenever you feel irritation or frustration. In these moments, instead of reacting right away, take a pause. Ask yourself, why does this bother me so much? Or what does this say about me? By turning your attention inward instead of outward, you can get a better sense of what's really going on beneath the surface. These strong reactions often reveal traits or desires you've tucked away, but once you start noticing them, they become easier to accept and understand. Together, these techniques, journaling, visualization, and self-reflection, offer different ways to bring your shadow to light. Bit by bit, they help you reconnect with the sides of yourself that can bring strength, resilience, and a more honest connection to who you are. Integrating the shadow isn't about fixing or getting rid of the parts of ourselves we don't like. It's about bringing both the light and dark parts together to create a balanced, honest version of who we are. The goal is to understand that every trait has a role to play. Instead of pushing away certain aspects, we can recognize them as part of our full identity. Many of the traits we suppress, like assertiveness, creativity, or resilience, actually have the potential to become real strengths. Maybe you were taught that being assertive meant being too much, so you held back from speaking your mind. But when we reclaim assertiveness, it becomes a tool for setting boundaries and building self-respect. The same goes for creativity. If you once felt that expressing it wasn't practical, reconnecting with that side of yourself can bring new ideas and joy into your life. Resilience is another trait often hidden in our shadow, especially if we've been through difficult experiences that we don't like to think about. When we bring resilience to the surface, we find a stronger, more adaptable self that can handle life's challenges with greater ease. Carl Jung called this process of integrating all parts of ourselves individuation. It's about becoming whole by balancing what we consciously know about ourselves with the hidden parts we may not always see. Individuation is like getting to know yourself on a deeper level, creating harmony between the conscious and unconscious sides. Instead of pretending certain traits don't exist, we learn to live with them and understand their place in our lives. By doing this, we stop fighting with ourselves and start living in a way that feels more natural and grounded. This journey toward individuation doesn't make us perfect, but it allows us to feel more complete, bringing a sense of inner peace and acceptance that lets us be our true selves. Applying shadow work in our relationships can make a profound difference in how we connect with others. When we start to recognize and accept our own hidden traits, we naturally become more understanding and less judgmental. This shift helps us communicate with greater empathy and listen without jumping to conclusions. By owning our shadows, we see others more clearly without projecting our own fears or insecurities onto them. For instance, when we realize that our frustration with someone's confidence might stem from our own struggles with self-worth, we stop blaming them and focus on our own growth instead. This small awareness can prevent unnecessary arguments and open the door to more honest, meaningful connections. Shadow work doesn't just impact us on a personal level, it ripples out into society. As we become more self-aware, we start noticing the larger patterns of projection bias and prejudice that affect entire communities. This is known as the collective shadow. When we work on our own inner shadows, we become more mindful of these societal issues. For example, understanding our own biases makes us more aware of discrimination or unfair treatment in our communities, motivating us to speak up or take action. As more people do this inner work, it creates a powerful effect. Individuals who are aware of their own shadows are more likely to challenge harmful norms and support change. They might push for fairness in the workplace, encourage open discussions in schools, or build bridges in divided communities. Over time, this collective healing helps create a more compassionate, accepting society. Shadow work, then, isn't just about personal growth. It's a way to foster a deeper understanding of others and contribute to positive change in the world around us. For those looking to deepen their shadow work, mindfulness and meditation are powerful tools for ongoing growth. Practicing mindfulness regularly helps us stay aware of the subtle emotions and reactions that pop up throughout our day, moments when our hidden traits might be trying to surface. By staying present, we can catch ourselves before we slip into old habits or react unconsciously. Here's a simple mindfulness practice. The next time you feel a strong emotion rising, whether it's frustration, jealousy, or sadness, take a moment to focus on your breathing. Breathe in deeply through your nose, hold for a few seconds, then slowly exhale through your mouth. Repeat this a few times, letting the breath bring you back to a calm, centered place. This practice gives you space to notice what's really going on beneath the surface, allowing you to understand your reaction rather than being swept away by it. Working with a mentor, therapist, or guide experienced in shadow work can also be incredibly valuable. Shadow work isn't always easy, and having someone knowledgeable to talk to can make the process feel safer and more manageable. A good mentor or therapist can help you identify patterns, offer new perspectives, and guide you through difficult emotions. They might see things that you wouldn't notice on your own, giving you insights that deepen your understanding of yourself. With their support, you can navigate the challenges of shadow work more confidently and feel more connected to your journey towards self-awareness. Stepping into the parts of yourself you've always feared or avoided isn't easy. It takes real courage. But this journey, as challenging as it may seem, is the path to unlocking your true strength. When you face the traits you've hidden, you discover self-confidence that doesn't rely on others' approval, resilience that can handle life's twists, and an emotional depth that lets you connect with yourself and others on a whole new level. So, here's something to think about. What hidden trait, if you allowed yourself to embrace it fully, could bring you closer to becoming the person you've always wanted to be?